Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central Texas. And today I'm joined by Brian Whitaker, who is the founder of Zettabyte Content. So excited to be sitting down, Brian. I just want to first off say thank you for taking the time to jump in, have a little bit of conversation with me today. We're going to cover some topics. We talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about just business in general, some challenges, best practices, things like that. Really, just ideally share a sneak peek into what it's really like to be a business owner and build and operate a business, that sort of thing. So just want to say thank you for taking the time to be here. I'd love, maybe let's just start with a little bit of background, if you would, kind of give us the 10,000 foot view of who you are, your background. We can dive into some more specific detail as we progress today, and tell us a little bit about what is Zettabyte Content.
Sure. Well, for starters, Tanner, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's always good to talk to somebody who knows the ins and outs of being an entrepreneur like yourself. And so, to give you a little bit of background, I have been selling and marketing enterprise technology, stuff that goes in data centers, for over 20 years now. I started back in 2002 selling server storage and networking for one of the biggest technology companies in the world. And I did that for a few years, pivoted within that organization into marketing. I was a marketing leader in Europe for a few years, came back to the US, was a marketing leader in the US for a few years, and wrapped up my career at that company as a marketing director for a data storage product line that was worth about $2 billion a year, and then started Zettabyte Content. We've been at it for 11 years, working with business-to-business technology companies, from startups to big Fortune 100 companies and everything in between.
Beautiful. I absolutely love that. And we can dive into some of the journey there here in a few minutes, but I want to kind of stay on the business first. I always like to just set the stage for those that are watching this or listening to this later on. We've got a myriad of businesses that we've had a chance to connect with here on the series. So I always like to ask just some general questions around kind of ownership structure. And what I mean by this is, when you look at your business, generally speaking, are you sole founder? Do you have business partners? Do you have outside investors? Kind of just generally speaking, what does that look like for you and your business?
Yeah, so I'm a sole founder. We're incorporated as an S Corp, have been incorporated in the state of Texas for 11 years. We've had some very small early investment, but really ever since then, it's been 100% bootstrapped, and we've grown about 20% year on year, every year on a revenue basis. And so it's just continued to go strong without additional partners or outside investment.
It's fantastic. So 11 years in business, continue to grow year over year. What does your role in the business look like today?
Well, I'm certainly the leader. There's no question about that. What we do is basically like any other professional services company. Probably the closest analogy is something like a very specialist sole proprietor attorney or a small firm of accountants. What we do is we do a lot of consultative work with our customers. So I'm leading the engagement, managing teams of specialists, whether they're writers or marketers or graphic designers or whatever, handling the day-to-day interactions with the clients, and making sure the business is successful, making sure that we've got a viable strategy for both the long term and the short term, and overcoming obstacles as they emerge.
Beautiful. I love that. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into the business itself. You've kind of started to go through it a little bit in terms of the businesses that you've worked with in the past. But when you look at today's market, I always like to ask just generally, who do you serve, right? And kind of the way I frame this up is, if I'm in the audience and I'm listening to this, how do I know that either I would be a good fit to come work with y'all, or I might know somebody who would be a good fit to come work with y'all?
So I'll just kind of break that down. So for starters, we are exclusively business to business. So we do no work with companies that sell directly or indirectly to consumers. So we are dealing with companies that build technology and sell those technologies to other businesses or other organizations like governments. The work that we do is the products and services that are being sold by our clients are never transactional. They're always products that are very expensive. They might start at $100,000 or $2 million. They are purchased by a collection of buyers and influencers at the customer. The sales cycle could take 12 to 18 months. And so we are a very relationship-focused company. We help our clients build better relationships with their customers so that the customer sees our client as a trusted advisor and has a long-standing relationship of coming to our client, asking questions, going deeper on technology so that when they're ready to buy, they recognize our client as the leader, the expert, the helper, and that's how our clients get sales.
It's fantastic. So if you would, kind of walk us through just maybe a general example of what kind of the work looks like when you got a client, you're working through this process with them. What kind of things do y'all work with them on? Like what does that kind of look like if you could?
So you can kind of look at it in lots of different ways, but I'll see if I can do this simply. What we try to do is we try to help our clients educate and persuade their clients, their customers. And so what we do is we try to get at what has happened with our clients, is happening with our clients, will happen with our clients around how their customers are using their technologies. So we're basically uncovering stories, if you want to look at it that way, and then elevating those stories and turning them into usable bits of marketing that educate and persuade. We can do that on kind of a strategic level. We find all the stories and then we craft what you can call a top level narrative about what the company does and how they do it, and who they do it for and why it matters. And then that top level narrative gets spread out across every marketing channel, web, social media, video, or we can do it more tactically. We can tell a story about what the company has done in a given situation. Like, for example, this technology is really helpful in helping retailers digitally transform. And so we'll create something or a collection of some things that make a difference for our client. Could be blog posts, could be infographics, could be white papers, could be a written case study, could be a series of those things. And we can help them also launch products. Like they've got a product that they want to take to market. We can figure out what the stories are around the product, who the product's going to serve, and then create all the different resources and bits of marketing necessary to take the product out to market so people can find it, learn about it, and buy it.
Very cool. Absolutely love that. Are there a lot of competitors to what y'all do? Are you fairly unique in the marketplace? I guess I don't know enough personally on if there's others that do what you do, but what does that look like for your industry?
Well, it depends on what you're looking at. So there are, God knows how many consultants and freelancers out there in the world, chipping away, wanting to do business with a Dell or a NetApp or SolarWinds or all these other technology companies that are out there. What we do is a little different than what a generalist marketing agency can do, because I and the writers that I bring on board have subject matter expertise in the technologies. That's something a generalist agency never can bring to the table. And so what that allows us to do is come up to speed faster. It gives us a deeper understanding of what the tech can do, what the target market is, what the competitors look like, what the routes to market look like. And so we can execute better quality work faster than others. So that's the kind of generalist agency competitor. The other piece is the freelancer or independent consultant kind of thing. Their challenge is scale and stability. There are a lot of people that go off and do the freelancer or independent consultant piece as a bridge between full-time job to other full-time job. And so if you go with one of those people, there's a fair chance that you'll lose them in 6 months. And so, we advocate long-term engagement. We advocate consistency. Our average client sticks around for like 17 months. And so between the subject matter expertise on the one hand and the consistency and stability on the other hand, we do something that's different.
Love that. That subject matter expertise is got to be really powerful, especially in kind of the tech space. I'm just curious, it's from some of the conversations I've had with other, say, very technical founders. They know their product very, very well. Has it been easy kind of bridge the gap between the technical speak of what the product or service can do versus what the the end user actually would emotionally feel when making the purchase decision of those technologies? If you could, I'd love to just kind of hear your thoughts on that, especially being in kind of the technology space.
Tanner, that's a really astute question, and I appreciate you bringing it up because it actually gets at the core of what we do. There are a lot of technology companies that you would refer to as engineering led. They started with a technical founder who had a really bright idea. And that bright idea gets turned into something real. And then the technical founder typically finds other technical buyers who want to buy the product. And they recognize that the technology is awesome. They want to buy it, and they buy it. That's great. And then that sustains the company for maybe a couple of years. And then they realize that they need to sell to a different audience that's not so technical, right? Maybe a business buyer. It might be a VP of something, or even the CTO or the CEO gets involved in the business discussion. And so what happens is the features and functionality of the product are not the key buying criteria. The key buying criteria becomes, what does the company need to solve? What problems does the company have that the technology might map to? And how well does the technology map to the problems and opportunities of the company, right? And that's a completely different conversation than what the technical founder is used to having. And so, they'll come in and say, I just want to talk about the speed of the product. It's faster than everybody else's. And, somebody in the C-suite or a board member goes, yeah, I don't care about that. What I care about is I've got this fundamental problem in the business, and I'm wondering whether your thing will help us or hurt us. That's the piece where we play, turning those features and functionality into solving pain points, addressing challenges, unlocking opportunities, all of that. That's the bit where we shine and where we deliver value. And it is the reality is nobody wants a product. Like, nobody wants to buy a product. They want a solution to their problem, right? I just bought a laptop. It's supposed to show up tomorrow. I didn't want to buy a laptop. I wanted to have a way of communicating with my customers and getting work done that was more reliable than the laptop I'm talking to you on. Right? I'm trying to solve a problem here, right? Trying to, unlock opportunities. The laptop is fundamental to what we do and how we get work done around here. And so that's the piece that really matters when a business is trying to scale past that first set of technical buyers into something bigger and shinier and more impactful.
That is absolutely amazing. The number of marketing conversations I've had with various business owners, but especially being here in Central Texas, there's a lot of technical led, engineer type led organizations and businesses out there, and that whole thing of people don't buy the drill, they buy the hole in the wall. Same thing that you were just stating there. But I always love to ask some questions around marketing. So this kind of leads into marketing. It's an area that is vital to every business out there. It's often an area that newer businesses especially tend to kind of struggle with unless they have a massive background in marketing. And loved that we had a chance to kind of dive into what it looks like, or at least a little bit of what it looks like to work with kind of your clients and things like that, and your general philosophy around marketing. I'm curious, for a business like yours, tell us a little bit about how y'all market your business and how y'all acquire the clients that you work with.
So all of our clients basically live on LinkedIn, what it comes down to. And so one of our key strategies is connecting with and communicating with prospects on LinkedIn. We do a lot of that every day in various forms and function. And we do that in a giving manner. Like, I'm not interested in spamming people to death. There's no value in that, and it goes against my values personally. But what I am interested in doing is helping these organizations get a broader reach. If I believe in their technology, I think they're doing good stuff. I want them to get a broader reach. And so, I'll engage with the founder, or I'll follow their company page. And when they say something interesting or important, I'll amplify it. I'll send it out to all of my, 3,000 and something followers, and try to broker conversations. I have clients where they need a technology, and I'll think to myself, oh yeah, I just saw something going on here. So I'll connect the two of them. I also have kind of a concerted effort that's always ongoing of building out referrals and connections from clients. So, I have a client who's a multi-billion-dollar digital infrastructure company right now, and we're kind of like getting wrapped up on this huge project we've been doing since February. And I said to the CMO the other day, I need you to think of 8 people you can refer me to. And I need you to do a video testimonial. And, and she's sort of said, yeah, of course, I'm going to help you do that, right? Systematizing that and being really consistent about that has just paid dividends every year. We've had customers that have taken us to 3 and 4 companies over 11 years because we just keep delivering value. And part of the value we deliver is that we think outside the marketing box, and we just keep giving. We keep trying to find out ways to make their business better. Yeah, folks appreciate that.
It's beautiful. So I know we've talked a lot about the business, and I want to make sure that we have a chance to kind of take a step back, talk about the journey into business ownership, entrepreneurship, all of that fun stuff. I had a chance to kind of hear a little bit about your background overall, but I want to ask you specifically around that transition into starting Zettabyte Content. When you made that choice to start a business of your own, get into this whole world that is business ownership, kind of talk me through why make that decision versus continuing to work for somebody else, or was it exciting, was it fearful, was there a little bit of both of those types of emotions? What was that like for you when you made that decision?
It was certainly exciting. I had been thinking about it for a while. I was a marketing director. I had, in many respects, a cushy gig, right? I was doing fine. And I had a nice little team. They were really good, experienced marketers. But I kept coming across a sore spot. And it was simply that when I needed to augment or extend my team to do more work faster, finding the right people quickly in an agile way was really hard back then. I would talk to our agency. They didn't have specialists. Talked about that before. I'd look at freelancers. They would be flaky or, consumed or whatever. And so after about a year of sort of knocking my head against that wall, I realized there was a market opportunity. I realized that there was a gap in the market. And I didn't have any like grand ambitions. I didn't want to be a $100 million business. But I did recognize a couple of things about myself that were really important. One was that the role I was in was quite political. I was having a lot of political conversations, lots of meetings about that sort of thing. And what I really enjoyed was getting marketing done, making it happen for folks. And so my role was kind of taking me away from that. And the other piece of it was that I'm kind of insatiably curious. I'm always really interested in new technologies and what's happening in the technology marketplace. And my role had kind of pigeonholed me into this one product, literally. And I wanted to branch out. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to provide more value in a bigger space. And so making the leap happened. I had found a customer that wanted some very basic consulting. And so I made the leap. And, within a year, I had grown the business to the point where I had replaced my corporate income completely. And I was off and running.
It's fantastic. I absolutely love hearing those types of stories where, the first year getting things off the ground and going, and there's, some early wins to keep things rolling. And, obviously has kept you in business, and now 11 years running, fantastic here. I'm curious, as you look to the next 3 to 5 years, where's the business heading for you? What do you see kind of, down the pipeline as we look towards the future?
So, we've really worked hard for the past 11 years in this kind of data center, cloud, edge computing kind of space. which is a huge, huge space. Lots and lots of players, lots and lots of stuff going on. And, we all have these devices in our pockets, which are more powerful than the mainframes in the 1970s, with a ton more features, ton more capabilities, right? But they rely on these data centers, tens of thousands of data centers scattered all over the place, and more are getting built every month. And there's an emerging problem, which is, in order for these data centers to function, they require huge amounts of electricity, and they require huge amounts of construction materials, and they require huge amounts of, often, in water. They consume water for cooling.
Mm-hmm.
And the statistics are data centers globally are at the moment consuming somewhere between 1% and 2% of the total electricity on the planet.
Wow.
And that's only going to rise, like it's increasing. And so last month we launched an initiative, I guess you could call it, to go deliberately work with companies that are aiming to make their data centers more sustainable. And so we're doubling down on that. You probably see over my shoulder a trade show badge. Just got back from a trade show called Data Center World here in Austin, where everybody was talking about sustainability and turning data centers into carbon neutral or even carbon net positive kinds of entities and reducing water consumption. And Gartner, who's a huge analyst, just came out last week and said that most organizations, only 5% of organizations have a data center sustainability plan, and in 5 years, 75% will. So we see that as an extremely active, innovative, exciting space. And we're going to spend the next 3 to 5 years prioritizing our efforts in there.
Nice. I love that. Very clear focus, big impact. Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, I know we're coming up on kind of the time that we had allocated today. And before we jump into the rapid fire questions, I always like to ask just a couple questions, or at least one question around team building. Or at least hiring, recruiting, something to do with the team side of a business. So when you look at, having a team, being a manager of teams in the past, having a team in your business today, I always like to ask about training, learning, educating, continuing to grow the people within the organization. What areas of training do you believe, your people need the most over the next 6 months, either based on kind of where the business is headed or just the general business climate of what's out there today? What are you focused on with your team?
So there are kind of a couple of things. One of them, of course, is new technologies, because we thrive when we stay on the forefront of the new technologies, right? And so spending money to go and get a week's worth of training at the supercomputing trade show or data center world, that kind of thing, is important to us. It matters. It's one of the simplest and most concise ways for us to go and drink from a fire hose of information for a week and learn a lot about new technologies. The second piece is new marketing tactics. The B2B marketing space is in a lot of change right now. It's going through a lot of flux. There are a lot of old tactics and techniques that are no longer getting the resonance in the market that they used to, and there are new ones that are beginning to emerge. And so we're spending money on training folks to become things like personal branding experts, that lead executives down the journey of becoming thought leaders on LinkedIn and other platforms and getting their personal brands out, because that translates into more attention for their companies. We're also looking at training around using these new generative AI tools like ChatGPT, Google's Bard, to accelerate and deepen and enhance the marketing that we do for customers, and also being able to advise customers on which tools they need to use, how they need to use them, where the value is, all that.
Beautiful. Well, those are massive, important pieces. And I 100% agree. Especially B2B, tactics and marketing and things like that have definitely shifted, in the last, even just the last couple of years. It's been pretty profound to watch that unfold. But Brian, we've certainly covered a lot of ground in the conversation so far today. So first off, for those that are watching, make sure you pause this, save it for later, come back, rewatch it a couple different times. There's definitely some nuggets here that are worthwhile going back and rewatching, kind of takes in some notes on things like that. But as we begin to wrap up, I've got a couple rapid fire questions, kind of top head answer. I know we could probably go deep on each of these, but just kind of top head answers for each of these. There's 4 of them, and then we'll kind of get into the final wrap up here. But Brian, what's your key to success?
Consistency. Showing up every week, delivering the goods, providing value, making sure we're helpful, and then rinsing and repeating the next week.
Beautiful. What's one piece of advice that you give to other business owners?
Connect, particularly with like-minded business owners. You may very well find out that a challenge you're having is a universal challenge, and other people have solutions you haven't thought of.
Excellent. What's one book that you're either reading now or have read most recently?
So I'll do a plug for David C. Baker's book on becoming a powerful advisor. This is a guy who is basically an advisor to advisors, a consultant to consultants, an agency advisor to agencies, and he does a brilliant job of unlocking some of the deeper possibilities of what folks like me do.
Amazing. If you had to choose only one area in your business that you could immediately throw some magic into and it improved tomorrow, where would you put that magic?
I think I would probably put it on the sales piece of things. I'd like to scale the business a little bit more this year, and we could probably do with a contract salesperson to go have some initial conversations, break some ice, and move some things forward.
Very cool. Well, Brian, this has been a lot of fun. I've got one question I'd like to wrap us up here. But before we do, for those that are watching, where can they go to find out more information about the business, about you, to follow you, to connect with you, anything like that? Where can we advise people go for more information?
So you can certainly look for me on LinkedIn. I'm there. I'm fairly prominent. I'm definitely busy. You'll find out lots about me and what we do there. And you can also go to our website, www.zbcontent.com.
Perfect. And for those that are watching, once we're wrapped up here, it'll be in the video description below, LinkedIn profile, website, all of that. So make sure you go click, connect, go through all of that fun information. But Brian, final question I've got for you today as we wrap up things here. What is most inspiring to you today?
You know, what's most inspiring to me today is that we are on the forefront of making the planet better, solving some intractable challenges in the technology space around sustainability. And there are lots of brilliant people coming up with brilliant ideas on how to have it. And I'm really grateful to be a small piece of that puzzle, to be right in the center of it, trying to make something better happen for our technology companies, for our communities, and for the world.
That is truly inspiring. Brian, thank you so much for taking the time. I know we could probably sit here for another 20, 30 minutes and just uncover a whole bunch more incredible nuggets of wisdom in your experience in business and growing and marketing and everything else. But, just thank you for sharing what you've shared with us so far today. Highly encourage everyone goes and connects and learns more information about you. But thank you for taking the time.
Tanner, I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for it. It's been good to talk to you.